It was the summer of '73, and my family had just moved from North Long Beach to Lakewood, California. Once again, my father's job took us to a new town. We had moved 7 times in the last 8 years. My father worked in the manufacturing industry as a mechanic. He grew up on a farm in the Midwest, and yes, he walked 5 miles to school and milked the cows before and after. If I've heard that once, I've heard it 1,000 times. But in this case, it's actually true. I verified it with his sister. His work ethic was forged out of fear for a leather strap his father would carry, and mine was forged in much the same way, when it came to chores and misbehaving. When I got older, I feigned that I was going to hit him back, and he decided to put the fear of God into me by saying, "If you ever hit me, you will never enjoy a good night's sleep again. Because some night, when you're sound asleep, I will come into your room and bash in your skull with a ball-peen hammer." I never slept as well again, believing him at his word. The town he grew up in was presided over by the Catholic Church and the school he attended. Apparently, the nuns at his school were given free rein by Father Grunecks and used tools of the classroom for disciplinary action. A pointer stick made a fine whip out of the legs. A sharp-edged ruler across the knuckles would get the attention of any wayward farm boy. Why do I feel like this is a prequel for Children of the Corn? He grew up during the Depression and would tell stories of going to the movies, getting a haircut, and buying an ice cream, all for $0.25. He would wear shoes in the winter and go barefoot in the summer, regales of family get-togethers on Sundays, making ice cream on the front porch and hay rides in the evening, and always recurring stories of Marilyn Applehoff, his childhood sweetheart, and their sticky gallops in the back seats of cars. He had friends with names like Shorty Osterholt and Swish Johnson. His graduating class boasted a total of 24 students. His childhood stories consisted of doghouses, henhouses, and outhouses. I guess growing up on a farm is what made him the kind of man he is. Hard times make you grow up fast, and at 17, he left home and never looked back. After fighting in Korea and receiving a Purple Heart for a gunshot wound to the leg, he made a good life for himself through hard work and determination, and the ability to fix nearly anything. My mother, on the other hand, grew up in Arkansas, a little town outside of Ashdown. Her father raised cotton on 40 acres of fine bottomland. She was the youngest of 5 sisters and was spared from most of the grueling work because of school. But occasionally, she would share of working in the cotton fields under the hot sun and picking until her fingers would bleed. You see, the pericarp dries out, and it holds the cotton, and its edges are razor sharp. Small fingers could better reach inside the bowl, but by the end of the day, she would have cloth wrapped around nearly every finger. Because the farm was so far away from town, she didn't have any other kids to play with. That left her plenty of time to develop a wild imagination and a creative spirit. She would spend hours looking through the Sears catalog and dream of the day she would be able to leave the farm. And in 1949, her wish came true, and the family moved to California, where there was factory work to be had for able-bodied hands. As fate would have it, in the early 1950s, a young farm boy from the Midwest accepted employment with Kimberly Clark as a machine mechanic. That is where my parents met and married. The early years were filled with a lot of moving for a better salary, better position, and eventually the development of new factories. Moving was no longer a traumatic experience, just the life we had come to expect. It can be difficult leaving behind new friends, but there is always adventure to be found beyond the next bend in the road. I have seen a lot for a boy of 13 years. I have stood on the shore of the Great Lakes and walked among the white aspens of the East Coast, the cottonwood trees of the Deep South, have provided fond memories of my summer afternoons spent playing beneath them. To feel the cool mud of the Mississippi ooze between your toes and ice skate on the frozen lakes and streams of upper New York. At one place, the Colorado Rocky Mountains stood behind our house. In Arizona, the valleys of red clay stretching out across the horizon as far as you could see. Like Huckleberry Finn, I was an explorer. I was a snake hunter, a frog catcher, a turtle trapper, and a lizard lover. I was always bringing home some kind of pet. George and Ellen were proud parents of 3 children. My older sister Jean was preparing to enter college. She wanted to be a nurse. This occupation suited her well, as she was a very compassionate person. My sister Marie, we called May, was 6 years younger than me, and like any other sibling, would prove to be a constant thorn in my side, but always stood by me when things got rough. We had moved so many times we'd become professionals, so going to a new school was the least of my worries. And then my parents dropped a bombshell and declared that this was the end of the line, the final resting place, a lovely little burb called Lakewood, California. But I was more concerned with meeting new friends, and if the kids on this block were any indication, I would be in serious trouble. You see, there's an art to meeting new kids, and first and foremost, the most important thing is to appear interesting. Like riding your bike to the store at least 3 times a day. They start to wonder, what is he buying? Even if you stuffed it with a head of lettuce from your mom's refrigerator or some of your sister's chic magazines, eventually one of these kids would flag you down and introduce themselves. And they will tell you everything you want to know, which usually consists of who the bullies are and who the most popular girl is. Once you have that information, the street is your oyster. Well, that's how it works in most towns, but not here. After all, this is Southern California, the land of movie stars, the Dodgers, and the Pacific Ocean. It might take a minute or two.